Yeah.
Okay, so do you feel like wait, can you pause it? Because I need to. Okay, so do you sorry. Okay, so what's the most heartwarming experience you had when you first walked an animal and took it in?
Okay, so I noticed there was a dog in the cage and never got walked, and I had a collar around its neck, and I learned that its back paws had been burned off with acid, so it couldn't come out. So I took it out of my lap one day, but it was very squirmy, so I said, Sean, could I take it out? And he said, yes. So I brought a shopping cart over. I was like a crazy lady, because I have this little pit bull in a shopping cart. And then I bought a carriage for it that looked like a baby stroller, exactly like a baby stroller. And then I said to Sean, I'd like to take it home. So I took Reuben home. I had Reuben for a few months. And during the time I had Reuben, his back legs had to be amputated. He would often have diarrhea, which made it a little hard to take care of him. But he was so wonderful. He had so much heart and soul. He would try to walk. And he wanted to be like my daughter's dog, who was a four-legged pit bull, and very friendly and very loving. But there were also other things wrong with him medically. So eventually, he had to be euthanized, which means he was no longer with us. And that was it.
Do you gain a lot? Like, do you learn a lot from all of the dogs that you walk, and like, do you soon get to know them so well that you take care of them as your own children?
Well, there's some dogs that I get closer to than others and take very good care of. The ones that take them home. So I would say the ones I have at home have become like my children. I have two now at home.
And what are their names?
So I have Little Lamb, and Little Lamb was a poodle that was found in a project from Coney Island. It was a stray, and they found out she had a lump on her breast, and it turned out, she had breast cancer, and she was operated on at the local vet. And I was just taking her home to foster her, and then I said, I can't give her up. So I adopted her. And Little Lamb no longer has breast cancer, but she only has one tooth in her mouth. She had very few teeth in her mouth, and those were rotten, so they took all of them out except for one. And then there was Nellie, and Nellie was this very heavy beagle mix. His name was Farrah Fawcett, which I didn't think was a good name. So, well, I called her Farrah Fawcett when she was here. And she had come into the shelter with this large cancerous mass by her leg, which they took care of, and the cancer may come back. So I took her home. You want to stop it for me?
Yeah.
Don't say 1 hour, because you don't work here.
Okay, today is day 3, and today we're doing a home interview with Cheryl, one of Sean Casey's volunteers.
When and how did you start volunteering at the Sean Casey Animal Shelter?
It was probably about a little over 3 years ago. I had been living in the neighborhood, but I used to have an office in Park Slope, and I used to walk for exercise. And then I had to move my office here to the house, and I wasn't getting exercise, and I thought, I have to do some kind of walking. So I had heard about the shelter, and then I knew from Yasmin and her sisters about this shelter where they had a bird named Chicken that walked on the floor. I was very curious. So I walked over to the shelter one day, and I asked if I could walk a dog. And then I began volunteering by walking dogs. It was good exercise, and I accomplished my mission.
Who was the first dog that you took in and took care of, and their story?
Yes, the first dog, I think the first dog was Reuben. And Reuben, I noticed in the shelter, Reuben would be in a cage, and he had that collar on. And I knew that his back paws had been burned off by acid, but there was no way to take him out for a walk. And then one day I had him out of my lap, but he was squiggly. So then I used to bring my shopping cart and put in blankets and put Reuben in the shopping cart and take him for walks. And then I bought a stroller so anyone could walk him. It looked exactly like a baby stroller, but it was for dogs. And at that point in time, I decided to foster Reuben. So I had Reuben home for maybe 8 to 10 weeks before he died.
Yeah, sure. So Cheryl is going to show us a picture of her old dog, Reuben.
So this is Reuben on the left, and Reuben has a collar on so he wouldn't chew at his feet. The vet didn't understand it, and we didn't know why, but he would also chew at his feet. It's not clear if he was in pain or if they itched. And Reuben is next to my daughter's dog, Onyx, and although Reuben eventually, even when he was with me, he had his back legs amputated, but he would still do what Onyx did. He wanted to walk, he wanted to be outside, he was very friendly. He was a very special dog, very brave, very courageous, persevered, but he was too sick to make it.
Thanks for showing us this picture. Okay, so next question. So how did you first get Little Lamb?
Well, I was at the shelter one day, and Lamb was in one of the cages, and just scratching. She didn't want to be in it. So I took her for a walk, and then I asked some questions, asked Sean some questions, and she was found in the projects in Coney Island by a boy. And then a woman found the boy and took the dog to a groomer, and then the groomer said, bring her to, Sean Casey Animal Rescue. So Sean knew that she had a lump on her breast, and it wasn't clear if she had breast cancer or not. And I thought, all right, let me foster her while she has the surgery, because that way she can sleep at my house, doesn't have to sleep, in the animal hospital. So she did. She came, and she had surgery twice, and it was breast cancer. And then I couldn't give her up. So I kept Little Lamb, and I called her Little Lamb because when I brought her home, she followed me every place. I felt like I was Mary, and Mary had a little lamb. And everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. Well, she followed me every place.
Aww.
So she's been with me. I know Easter is at least a year, but I don't know exactly how long. So that's what.
Okay, so how did you first find Nellie?
Well, Nellie was at the shelter, and I walked her. And the first day I walked her, we were behind some staff people, and they made a right turn, and then Nellie just stopped and wouldn't move. She just wouldn't move until they came back. And I would walk her when I was at the shelter, and then I saw she was online. She was posted on Pet Finder. Oh, she had cancer. When she came to the shelter, I didn't know her. She had this huge cancerous mass, which Sean took care of, brought her to the pet hospital and took care of. But it said that the cancer might come back. It probably wouldn't be malignant. It wouldn't kill her, but it might come back. And I thought, here's this dog. She's very heavy. Cancer might come back. So I took her home to foster, and then I figured out she was deaf. She had hard of hearing. Because when she was in the backyard, and if I would go in the house, she'd always follow me, except sometimes when I realized if she didn't see me, then she wouldn't follow me, which meant she didn't hear. So she's got a little bit of hearing. If I whistle, she hears, but if you talk to her, she doesn't hear.
And she follows your lead, right?
She follows my lead, and let's see if I can get, I'll show you how I taught her to sit.
Pause it. Hold it.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now come.
No, we haven't stopped. No.
Sit. Good girl now. Lamb, you get some too. You're doing nothing. You're being cute. There's Lamb and Nellie. So when I took Nellie as a foster, and then I felt badly, when I realized she was deaf, I figured she'd be hard to adopt between being deaf and the cancer. So these are my girls.
So after you took in both dogs, was the schedule the same, or was it harder?
Well, it was a little harder because I didn't know how to walk two dogs together, but I finally learned. And My schedule is, well, it's a little complicated because Nellie gets special food because of her weight, but she'll eat the lamb's food, so I have to keep them separate when they're eating. So Nellie doesn't eat the lamb's food. The lamb won't eat Nellie's food. And then in the morning what I do as soon as I get up, I get dressed, I put on my sneakers and I take them out and I walk them. And I try to walk them 4 times a day. So in a way it's harder with 2 dogs because I have to keep track of when they eat and when I go to the bathroom and all that. But I like the interaction between the 2 dogs. And Lamb doesn't like to be alone, so it's really good that she has Nellie. And Nellie sort of depends on Lamb for her hearing.